All right, welcome to Valuable Coaching. We're talking volleyball today with Wave director Brennan Dean, and Kevin's going to give us a little bit more about him.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce Brennan Dean, the owner of Wave Volleyball over in Del Mar, California. Brennan went to Torrey Pines. He was an awesome volleyball player where he ended up going to Chico State. When he returned from Chico State, he was a high school counselor, did that in the Northern California area, and then came back down to sunny San Diego to his alma mater where he started coaching at his alma mater, and then he got involved in Wave for a few years as a coach. And then all of a sudden, he took it over, and now he seems like he's been owning Wave now for 8 years. We can't wait to talk to you, Coach, about your successful club, the family atmosphere that you've brought at that club, and the success you've had. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so our first question for you, I mean, obviously we touched up that you have been the owner of the club for 8 years. What has been one of your most fulfilling moments during that 8 years during your ownership on the boys, girls, and beach volleyball side?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe it's just making it through COVID and being able to keep all of our coaches involved, keep all of our families going. That was a huge sense of pride for us as a company, making sure that we were able to take care of everybody with the help of our players and our players' families and dipping into savings and things like that. So that was a huge accomplishment for sure. One that I never expected I was going to have to deal with, but it feels like we're getting closer to getting through it. So that's a really emotional moment, I think, for my wife and I. My wife and I run Wave together, and that's a major sense of pride. But before that, I think just seeing the expansion of Wave and seeing the growth, the different programs that have developed from that growth. It was day one of my ownership that Matt Olson and I started the beach program at Wave and started also planning on building a new facility. And that was a 3-year endeavor that I hope I never have to deal with again, building a new facility, because it was an eye-opening experience. I learned a ton, but it's very difficult, very time consuming. And it was a huge accomplishment to get it done and to see how the club has doubled in size. And it found a little success. The national stage was exciting, with really, really good coaches and great families. So proud, lot to be proud of.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, Coach, because I can attest for what you said first is, I've worked for you, luckily, for 6 years now. And one thing I respect and admire about you and your wife as the ownership group is you're just impeccable of your word. And right away, you attacked it. You emailed us. You said, this is what's going on with COVID. This is how we're going to deal. And we get constant updates from you guys for the health, what's going on. And then also, you just made it a passion, a will to be like, we're going to get you guys paid. And I haven't missed a paycheck, and I really appreciated that. And I know you put in a lot of hard work, and that's not like what a lot of clubs do. And that's what makes Wave special. So I really appreciate that. And it's like you said, you touched up on the family atmosphere. Definitely you created that. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, I think you're blind if you're a director and you don't realize that your biggest asset is your coaches. And I find that to be my primary responsibility as the director, is recruiting talent. And when I say talent, I'm talking about coaches, and making sure that we take the things off of the coach's plate that causes heartache, pain, irritation, because those things shorten coaches' lives as far as your career as a coach. So my job is to expand your career and make it so that you'll coach an extra 5 years longer for these kids. So we look at all of those hassles and we try to take them off your plate, and we try to manage them for you at an administrative level so that you get to do what you love, which is educate and teach these kids, great game, and teach them about life skills that you can learn through team sports. So we wanted to make sure when we got through COVID that you guys and gals, our coaching staff, would be here for these families. So we knew the priority was to make sure that we took care of our coaching family.
That's so great to hear. I mean, I've definitely seen and talked to some other club directors in the past, and it doesn't seem where the priority is. It definitely seems like, for better or for worse, it's on the players and just making sure they're there. And I mean, I've seen your teams out on the beach, and you can tell that they're obviously being coached extremely well, and that they're getting the play time and the facility time that they need in order to get better. And I've even seen some of your local teams be able to show so much improvement, which is not something I've seen from a lot of those kind of local, lower level teams. A lot of them just kind of stay pat for the whole season. They just, I don't know what the plan is for some of those clubs behind those teams. But you seem to really want to develop those people as well, which obviously is coming from those coaches that you get. So that's a testament to what you just said. What were some of the things that you did to really help get everybody through COVID? I mean, Kevin mentioned coaches getting paid, but how about for the players? And then in terms of finding ways to get players back in the gym, what were you able to do to make that happen?
Yeah, so we have a great administrative staff at Wave, a group of directors that deserve all of the credit because they did most of the hard work during COVID. And Monday through Friday, they came up with virtual content that was emailed out to the entire club. So sometimes it was an interview with Reed Pretty going through one of his national team matches. Sometimes it was a interview with an alumni asking about their experience. Sometimes it was watch Remember the Titans, and here's some questions that you should talk to your family about while you watch this. So we tried to have content Monday through Friday for families and kids to access and have value out of Wave. And we got a lot of positive feedback from it. Of course, some people didn't maximize it, but it's understanding. Everyone processed that quarantine period a little bit differently. But, we did fun things like we did crossword puzzles that was tailored towards Wave, and just a lot of creative type of interactive things so that they felt connected to their team. Coaches usually would do one Zoom call a week with the team to connect. Some teams did a Zoom call and like a Zoom workout. And that was pretty comical to see that happening. And, 14 little boxes with two coaches trying to run a workout. But it kept us connected. And I think that it really paid off because we saw a lot of kids back in the gym summer with our camps and our clinics. And, I'm glad that we didn't have to sustain another 2 months of that because it was really hard coming up with the stuff. I mean, we were preparing things for 2 weeks out, just always trying to stay ahead of it. So,
well, it's great you mentioned that, Coach, because a few things too. One, as a coach under Coach Dean, is every Friday we would just get together and relax and let our hair down and just say, "How was your week?" And like for the administration team to reach out to the boys' staff, and we just kind of sit there and relax and just talk, and that meant a lot too. Because sometimes at the end of one of those COVID weeks, everyone's just brains fried, and just see his face and see Daryl's face and see Jed and just be like, "How you guys doing?" And
yeah, it was really nice to connect and just see the staff weekly in a happy hour and just laugh and tease each other and just be goofy at the end of a week. It was good. It was healthy. I really benefited from it. I'm a very social guy, so not having that time in the gym is hard.
Yeah, and then another thing, as you know, you have a ton of educators on your staff, and one thing that I also admired is, at least for PE in San Diego, we weren't running Zoom yet, and you guys were. And as PE teachers, they let that kind of year just go out and fizzle out, and the PE teachers would just give kind of worksheet content and just tell the parents to like, "Hey, have them just work out." What was really beneficial for me is I basically got a snapshot of how to do it, because your admin team would come up with all these things. And I could assure you I'm using a lot of those strategies because I've been doing Zoom now this whole semester. So not only
Yeah, we have an agility and strength coach. His name is Joshua, Coach Joshua, and he runs our program that we have internally, which is great for a lot of different reasons. But during the COVID months in the quarantine section, he was running 2 workouts a week, and he would do it on different platforms. And it kept the club going, it kept the coaches going, and his business did really well when we came back because he was able to connect with all of those kids and make sure that they didn't fall behind. So that's been a really important program for our club, is our agility and strength program. And I think that we're one of the very few that have an agility and strength and a beach and an indoor all in one facility in Southern California.
Yeah. So what leads to my next question is, you talked about the importance of how you recruit coaches. And yeah, I think you have a lot of good coaches there. What things do you look for in a coach, and how does an interview process look like for you when you try to bring someone on board?
Yeah, I stole this from someone, so please don't give me any credit for it. But educators is a huge piece for me. My background, having a master's in education and believing in John Wooden's philosophies and his pyramid, and the fact that all coaches are educators, and that we should instill ourselves to be lifelong learners, is really important. So if you send me a resume that you're in an education field, I perk up really quick. I do have a policy that I interview every single person that sends me an application. I will never reject anyone, even if they don't send in an application and they just text me, hey, I'm looking for a job, because I want to make sure that I don't miss out on the next Karch Karai. So everyone gets an opportunity to have face-to-face with me. There's 3 things that you have to have in order to work at Wave. The first one is passion, and passion can be shown in a bunch of different ways of different personalities, but there needs to be some fire inside of you. Maybe the most important one is integrity. I need to make sure that the people that we surround our athletes with are filled with the highest integrity and ethics and morals. I don't want to ever put one of my customers in a situation where they don't have a fantastic role model. And then intelligence, and going back to that willing to learn. And if you have those 3 things, I do believe that you have the capability of becoming a great coach. And I know that I am not a great coach. That's something that I continue to work on every day and try to get to. But I do think that the great coaches do have those 3 things, and that you can come in and not have all of the volleyball experience or coaching knowledge, but learn and become a great coach if you do have those things. So after an interview where I do the typical, tell me your background, tell me your playing history, tell me your coaching experience, and then checking references, I bring them on court and usually have them float during a practice or a clinic that's run by one of our directors. And I explain to them that you're going to be essentially an assistant coach in this 2-hour practice, and that you don't have to have a practice plan ready, but be ready to implement the drills and the techniques that we're teaching. And don't be shy. I've had people who have sat in the back of the gym with their arms crossed and not said anything. So I make sure I didn't make that mistake twice. And with everyone, I tell them, I want to see you interact with athletes. I want to see you interact with staff. What I'm looking for is your communication style, the way that you connect with athletes, your style of teaching, your general personality and court presence, because my brain's already thinking, if they've passed the personal interview and they're already deep into the on court, where are they going to be placed? We need to start thinking about the relationship that they're going to have with their head coach, or if they're a head coach, what their assistant coach is going to need to be. So you need to quickly start thinking about what needs to complement this coach, or how can I help this coach grow? And I always try to find out in the first or second interaction with them is, what are their goals? And I hope and wish that I can be a catalyst in helping coaches achieve and their aspirations, if that's becoming a JC coach or a Division I coach, or this is just a stop on the road to their next career. I want to be just a good trampoline to help them. So having a clear understanding of what that is, I think, is really important.
I mean, hearing all this and being the outsider of the three of us, not having worked at Wave, it really seems to me like, I mean, this seems like the smart way to run a club is that, you know, from the top, you're already admitting that you're not perfect and that you want to learn, which then is going to translate down to the people below you. And then when you're seeking out coaches who want to continue to get better, you know, they're going to continue to make their players better and pass that kind of same knowledge onto them. Why do you think it is that it feels like there's so many clubs out there that just don't go at it this way? And you've obviously been very successful, beach, girls, boys. You know, it does seem like you have kind of a you know, fairly simple formula there, but a lot of people don't seem to be using that same formula. Why do you think that is?
I think everybody's got their own style, and there's a lot of clubs out there that are better than ours, and they're probably doing it a different way. And I think that something that I always try to check is my ego and my top coach's ego. I think that ego gets in our way. I think that ego can limit us. I think ego can blind us. And I will admit that I know that I can have a big ego, and as I coach longer and longer, I learn I know less and less, and that ego goes down and down. But it's hard to convince a really good coach to go and coach a lower level or a twos level. But that's what makes a club great, is having amazing developmental programs and having really good twos coaches. And one of my aspirations is that my ones and my twos both qualify for the highest division for us is open. And you can't do that without fantastic coaching at the twos level. So, you know, what other limitations are, I'm sure it could be just coaching. People, you know, aren't as fortunate as we are in San Diego to be just a hotbed of volleyball. And there's just so much talent with athletes and with coaching. And I'm very spoiled with the fact that we have so many colleges and universities around me that have volleyball programs with men and women. Unfortunately, no beach, which is weird. But I guess some of the JCs and Division II schools do. But we tap into that, so we try to create really good relationships, and we have probably a coach from every single college in some shape, way, or form in San Diego on our staff, which is really helpful in a lot of different ways. There's hiccups too with scheduling and practices, but I'm sure that there's some clubs out there that would just say, like, this is simple, we don't have the coaches. You know, there's only me or one top guy that's kind of running the whole program, and they have to do a master level coaching. We don't do that at Wave. I know that's extremely popular, where you have one person that would come in and design all of the practices, and all of these coaches would need to run whatever that director, whatever that top coach, that master coach deems is the appropriate way. I like to give autonomy. When I started at Wave in 2005, I approached the founder and former director, Ed Machado, who's a fantastic coach and a great mentor, and one of my coaches as a young player, and said, hey, I want to bring swing blocking. And, you know, he was at UCLA and he won national championships there. He's like, no, you can't teach swing blocking here. And I was like, well, then I don't want to coach. And he's like, okay, you can have the autonomy. And I'll never forget that, him letting me do my own thing. That inspired me. And I'm sure I tripped and made a ton of mistakes that he could see coming, but he let me grow and he let me learn. And I want my staff to do that too. I mean, I've gone up to coaches and say, tell me why you're doing that. It doesn't make sense to me. I try to do it away from athletes in a respectful way, but I want coaches to be able to run their own program within certain boundaries.
Yeah, I think one thing
That
that's
was a great first half of our interview with Coach Brennan Dean, club director at Wave here in San Diego. He really talked a lot about all the stuff that they did during COVID, and he talked about how he goes about finding coaches. Tomorrow, the second half, he goes a lot into the philosophy of his club and how he does practices and some of the accomplishments that they've had. And it's a continuation of this great interview. And I think for all club directors, club coaches out there, you want to take a look at this and see, just really how somebody can run a club and be efficient at it and do it the right way, getting coaches, players, families all on board, and again making sure that they all are coming to work or to practice happy and ready to go. So take a listen tomorrow to the last half of our interview with Coach Brennan Dean, and we want to just say thank you again to him for taking the time out to talk to us. It's a busy life directing a club, so thank you so much again to him, and we look forward to having a second half of the interview tomorrow.
Hey, if you're looking for some great clothing, new logo, you need a great combination, go to onestoneapparel.com, onestoneapparel.com. They made us this awesome logo that fit better onto a great polo shirt, hoodie, and they got all kinds of different materials that you can choose from. So again, check them out, onestoneapparel.com. Email Dave at onestoneapparel.com. Let him know Valuable Coaching sent you.